Stop! Stop! Take your hands out your pocket. Take your hands out your pocket. If you don't stop, so I'm gonna tase you. I'm not playing you. Take your hands out your pocket. Take your hands out your pocket. Take your hands out your pocket. What's going on? Shots fired!
There you go. So, hi, my name's Robert. This is the Tactical First Aid panel. That one's just going to kind of set the tone for what we're going to be talking. Welcome to Saturday night at DragonCon. I promise it will get funner and a lot more lighter from here. It's not going to be quite so dramatic and dire. I like to run really fun stuff, so we're going to have some activities and things to get involved with as we go forward. Just to give you a quick recap, I've been a paramedic for 12 years, a fireman for 18, and a law enforcement officer for 10. My primary designation is as a TAC medic, and basically I was cross-trained to do high-risk warrant services with the U.S. Marshals, SWAT, and any other special operations teams that would ask for us. Yeah, that's about it. I like first aid a lot, and hopefully you'll get a lot out of this course.
I'm Griffin Barber. I'm 17 years, going on 18 years with the major metropolitan West Coast department. I've done all the different work possible within that venue as an officer, a patrol officer, plainclothes, drug enforcement stuff, prostitution abatement. I've responded to a lot of different scenes where people have been shot, stabbed, clubbed, wrestled with naked 250-pound people, and all that good stuff too. So, been a lot of times when we're called on to do render that first aid because we're waiting on the medics to show up, who are the real experts.
I'm Nicole. I have been a medic for 16 years now. Worked for a metro Atlanta area fire department for almost 15 years. And I'm currently reinventing myself working in a local ER as a medic.
This is my partner, Tim. I ride with him on the ambulance every shift. Go ahead, Tim.
Hi, I'm a nurse practitioner.
There we go.
My name's Tim. I'm a nurse practitioner. I'm also a firefighter and EMT. Previously worked for the District of Columbia Fire Department. Now work down this way with the first guy that introduced himself. Nice to be here.
Me and him worked together for 15 years.
That's right. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and do some Q&A at the end, and by try, I mean we will. I've been told that we will definitely do Q&A. So I got about a 30-minute actual trying course, all right? So we're going to discuss some really quick stuff. For anybody who's ever had any type of tactical training before, you know there's numerous ways to do things, and I'm certainly not here to preach one way above another. This is going to be a real quick intro, how-to, and very, very scraping the surface. This is obviously a very nuanced subject, and normally I teach this in a 40-hour format across an entire week, and we're going to do it in about 30 minutes. So that should tell you about the depth that we're going to. So real quick, get into terminology. Them squiggles what make them words. If your team can't talk to each other, then you really can't cooperate and actually work. Oh, we not?
Can't see the first word.
Ah, gotcha.
So even before his vocabulary and terminology, there's one essential thing you need to look at is the tactical exercise. In most modern law enforcement, you guys have all seen in the films, you see the guys in the black tactical armor moving on a doorway. Usually that's between 5, 7, and maybe even up to 15, depending on the space that you're going into. So this is a bunch of terminology from that kind of tactical entry into a building and the medical response that you may need to do, most of which the training for all of this stemmed from a couple of different incidents. Columbine is one big one. And then more recently since then, we've had some other incidents where you end up having to render aid, but you have to you can't wait to secure the building so that the paramedics, who are generally unarmed in most jurisdictions, can get in. So it's part of the reason why why his training is such that he's doing this is because of those incidents. Law enforcement has just above the bare minimum training for first aid, and we need guys and gals that are trained to be able to do all of it, which is extremely difficult and challenging.
Yes. As a normal medic, most of them, we stay outside the hot zone, basically. And by the way, I like to walk and talk, so I actually do enjoy doing this. As a normal medic, we usually stay outside of the hot zone, and we wait for the officers to handle the situation, and then whenever that happens, then we go in. As a tactical medic, you get to go in first and basically run and gun while everybody else is handling business. What I wanted to show you real quick here, about the most important thing is probably going to be the shallow corner. That's going to be a concept we talked about earlier. These are not hard definitions. Every team's going to use different terminology. Every team's going to have their own words. So if you're trying to actually train with your friends to do this, just agree that certain words mean certain things. It will cut down on a lot of confusion later on. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. The shallow corner we're going to discuss here in a moment. If you look right here, that's what we call it. So essentially, this is basically a quick breakdown of how the stack works. Can you see this? Or no? All right, I'm sure you know it. This is a quick breakdown of how the stack works. I just used a quick 3-man stack, and essentially you're going to determine who's going to do what. The way our team ran it was we just did a quick dump. It's cool, it's sexy, it's fun, and it's very violent and aggressive, so everybody likes to do it. And essentially what it means is the first guy is never wrong. First guy goes to the point where he thinks is the most dangerous, and the second guy goes in the other direction. So as you can see, number 1 would come in the hallway right here, making a left, which is what we call a hook, right there. And he would actually take this corner. So when he would come in, he would actually literally pivot on the ball of his feet and charge the corner of the room. And then as he determines that there's nothing in that corner, since it's been cleared, would continue to sweep out. Now, of course, as he's coming in the room, he's actually going to be clearing as he goes. But most of us that ever played laser tag or anything back in the day, where did you hide whenever you wanted to pop someone? Right in that corner. Well, it works in real life. So the 2 guy would come in and basically hit to the right, do the same thing. The 3 guy comes in, takes the center of the room, and then once everybody handles their zones, they try to do interlocking fields of fire, and then each one calls out the danger areas. So basically this guy, one would be like, danger area table, on me. And then we would set up and stack up on them, and then we would clear the danger area and work our way through it and repeat it. So that's going to be kind of what you want to do. So, principles of dynamic entry, like we call it, the Tao of kick-ass. Speed, violence, and surprise. So basically, speed, violence of action, and surprise. So whenever you go through it, you basically want to make a lot of loud noises. Once you actually do dynamic entry, your whole goal is to intimidate. All right, because you want to take the fight out of the person before they ever even decide to fight. They're like, oh my God, these guys look scary, they're big, they're loud, we don't want no more part of that. And it does work. A lot of times with the diversionary tactics, that's actually a good thing, because you can we'll toss flashbangs in an area of the room that we don't actually have any person in it, specifically because we want you to look that way while the team comes from the other direction. So it is very good and very disorienting. Let's see. All right, entry and clearance. Now, if I can get the videos to work, I do actually have a good example here. Speed, surprise, and violence of action. So these guys have got it down. Let's see. Now, we got our audio down again.
So a couple different things about when you make entry into a room, and the terminology they talk about is a door is an upright coffin. The first person through a door is rarely shot. It's the second person in the stack who gets hit, because the reaction times are such that, threat, raise, pull. The second person through the door is the one who usually gets tagged. So the violence of action, the speed is really critical. It's very, very important.
Those guys are tactical as all get out. You can tell. They're actually sweeping the room, legitimately sweeping the room.
And, you know, one of the things about teams is they all have their sense of humor, too. It's essential that you keep that, especially in something as tight-knit as a tactical team.
Mm-hmm. So the military does not mess around, guys. They take everything very serious. That room has been cleaned immaculately. So, I actually like that video because they actually use really good tactics and communication whenever they're going through it. So, entry and clearance, again, more terminology, all right? Briefing approach, stat, recollapse the zones, and essentially what I like here is the clear the immediate threat area right inside the doorway. So that's going to be the number one thing that you're going to be doing. Essentially, as you make the terminology, if you make the decision to enter the room, you own the room, don't stop, don't mess around. If anything's in that little box, just bowl straight over them. So odds are, if they're standing there, they mean to do you harm, or they should have gotten out of the way. So, now again, like I said, we're going to basically, I'm giving you enough information to feed, hopefully, good questions. So, we'll open it up and I'll be able to clarify anything else that we do. Let's try the VLC player. This is a standard 3-man.
Breacher mic ready? Ready? Last break ready? Breach! Breach! There! Reloading! Okay! Obstacle! Go! Window! There! Clear! Going out! Moving! Robbery! Go!
All right, so they use good communication. Notice whenever he went in the door, they did what's called a cross-cross. Neither one of them hooked. So you can do anything you want. So to give you a rough idea, let's pretend that we're in an imaginary doorway right here and there's one right in front of me. If I'm standing against the wall, if I choose to as a lead guy, I can actually, instead of trying to pivot and turn around and take that, I'm just going to tell the other guy, look at him and be like, cross. Dirt simple. So whenever you go through the room, you essentially charge in and go immediately that way. And the other guy can cross right behind you, or he'll come in and he'll pivot. So since they had 2 people on each side, they both crossed, it's fine. Just don't bump into each other. Then it's just awkward. Nobody takes you serious. The bad guys die from laughter. So, bam, just that easy. You're now all trained killers. That's it.
So it also makes a really bad video if you trip over each other. When our TAC teams are otherwise occupied or they're servicing several warrants at the same time, say for a group, a whole gang, they need other officers to handle business on the stack. And in our stack, when it's this ad hoc thing, I'm the keys to the city. I blow open the doors. I'm a big, heavy guy, and I throw weight around. So I have done 17, 18 of these warrant services, and I know I can break a door down. It takes one hit to break the door and one hit to blow it open. And you want it blown open so that the next person in the stack can just go right in. The person who's swinging the ram does not enter the room as far as the building entry and the first entry. I do this, I swing it, and it stopped my ram. What? And I almost took out the guy behind me because I was so stunned. I'm like, what? This is not the way it's supposed to be. I come back, I hit it again, and I hit it a third time. And it finally blows open. The stack was so racked up because of what happened there? That's not how Barber took the door. He's supposed to blow it open right away. And they were so primed and ready to go up into the thing. and it's an apartment with a landing and then stairs up. The first guy in the stack after me tripped and took the whole stack with him. They all just landed on top of it. It was like Three Stooges.
Oh, no.
So there's 6 of them. So it's asses and elbows on the stairs. So it can be comical. Luckily, the person that we were after was asleep upstairs even after we bashed through their door.
Yeah. It's always been a goal of mine not to wind up a training video. Just because, like, literally, if you wind up a training video, that means you had a really bad day. Admit it. Did y'all even talk about it again after that?
Oh yeah, because I wasn't the one who fell, right?
Yeah, it's totally everybody else's fault.
Just gave me so much crap.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, yeah, but you almost, yeah, but I didn't fall now, did I?
Yep.
Why did the door not be damaged?
It was so the housing project had just been rebuilt. So it was the first door that I'm taking in this housing project, and they put steel frames into these doors. So I broke the bolt. I have it at home. I drilled it, and I have it as a necklace. It's a 1-inch steel bolt that I managed to blow open. So I'm kind of proud of that. And when I picked it up, after everybody picked themselves up and they got the subject up, I picked it up still hot from the torsion, from me slamming it so because I was pissed. I'm like, because it's really scary. You're amped up. You're ready to go, and that thing didn't work. So that's part of the reason why, like the crossing thing. Our guys don't do that generally. They'll do one or the other. They'll either hook or cross the entire time they're doing something. Because you don't want to have to be thinking about it too often. If you're a really experienced team, then you can get to where okay, we can start doing stuff on the fly. But it's certainly in an ad hoc situation where you're just kind of getting this group together, you want to do what your training level tells you is the best thing to do, which be consistent with your training.
And 2 other points I want to bring up before we move past the whole tactical first aid portion of the program, or tactical portion of the program. There's an idea called geometric progression. We call it slicing the pie. All right, so that's how you take corners. In the movies, you'll see them be all cool and sexy, and they're like right against the door, and they spin around against the door. They come around the corner of a hallway, and they're like their shoulder is touching the wall, right? And like their gun's like way out here in front of them because they look cool. They saw it on Cagney and Lacey, right? That looks awesome. The problem is whenever you stick your weapon out like that, far enough away from you, it can get taken away from you very easily. And if you're coming around a corner like this, again, where did we all hide whenever we wanted to get our friends? Against the wall right on the corner. So the idea is you actually get off the wall and you slice the pie. So if the hallway is 3 to 4 feet wide and it turns right, then you want to be against the left wall doing this. As it's against it, you're basically going to step off to the left and essentially walk around it like that. And you'll literally bring it into view. There's a concept that's called light bends around corners. So what's really interesting is you can do this in such a manner that you'll actually be able to see someone hiding on the other side of the wall before they can see you because you're farther off the wall and you're coming around it. So that's a very real way to clear corners. The other idea is we just talked about the dump of the room. That's like the really fun way to do it is like it's everybody ramped. There's if you're working with a 2-man team, like what you would do with a patrol officer, there's kind of like the method that we use a lot, especially in the Marshal Service, because we're just looking, I've only got those 2 corners to attack. That makes it a lot easier, and I can move at my own pace. So the whole idea of clear 80, attack 20, to me, that's what I like, and that's what I prefer, but that is also what we do a lot. With the SWAT team, man, they got to dump it. And also, there's hostage rescue and hostage rescue and things of that nature. And of course, you're going to be dumping rooms at that point because that's hero time. This is a section that Mr. Barber specifically wanted me to put in, and I like that he reminded me of it. It's called triage. So, in tactical first aid, essentially, you have to select who you think you can save, who you think can help you out. So, if we're going to talk about tactical first aid as opposed to regular first aid, that means in this class, you would actually select the person you think can get back up and in the fight first, because we need guns down range. So in civilian first aid, whenever someone's leg is broke, we treat them first, right? Nope. If your buddy's leg's broke, he might not be able to get back up into the fight. We're going to help the guy who might just have a small GSW to the hand. Take
gunshot wound.
Get him moving. Yeah.
Sorry, I got to translate some of these things.
Yeah. Gunshot wound.
And the reason why I wanted to bring up triage is because the track is post-apocalyptic. So it depends on the severity of the apocalypse as to whether you're going to have fine paramedics waiting, standing by to take care of it, or if the person who's with you is the only person that's got any kind of medical training. If you're going to be transporting them to and a hospital that's fully staffed and equipped, or if you're going to be like, we got to go back to camp now and deal with our friend or family member who's been shot or wounded or whatever it may be. Triage decisions are difficult decisions, but I think they would be as near as impossible as you could get in that apocalyptic setting, whether decide whether or not you got to continue the fight right now and try and fix your loved one's wounds. So keep that in mind while we're going through this. This is all as it is right now. We can try and, when you think about questions and stuff like that, you might want to think about some of the apocalyptic scenarios that we've run and thought about, that kind of thing too.
Yep. In the civilian world, we use, or civilian EMS, this is the tagging system that we use, black, red, yellow, and green. Green means you can walk, and in a real massive casualty incident, really it works like this. If you can walk to the sound of my voice, walk to me. We're going to remove as many people from the area as possible. And then we work through and we tag them. Black does not necessarily mean dead at that moment. It just means not savable. And so we will tag living people black because we know they're going to expire very soon. A lot of times what happens in this situation, just as a point of clarity, is we have what's called a reverse triage situation. Because in an emergency, like what happened in Aurora, the movie shooting, everybody that was moderately injured rushed out first. So what happened was all the police officers were scooping up these people that just had moderate injuries and were then dumping them into the medical system. So they started burning resources, and they were also taking stuff away from the people that needed really desperate help behind them. So it became a reverse triage. The easiest wounds got moved first as opposed to the worst wounds. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind if you ever find yourself in that situation. So hopefully you don't. But
we have somebody in the audience that actually worked that case. Do you have any knowledge of that as far as how that worked out, Alistair?
There's a mic up here so everyone can hear you. Yeah, come on up.
This is Alistair Kimball. He's an author. He's just Iron Angels, his book. It's actually not out yet, but it's available here at the con. So you guys can now get a sneak peek at it.
Thanks for the.
Yep. Here, you want this one?
Trust me, I'll take like 1 second. Really, it's going to verify who you're talking about.
You're good to go.
So FBI agent, I work the evidence response team in Colorado. So my team handled the Aurora theater shooting, and what he said is exactly true. What they had was cars, regular patrol cars, then transporting victims who were able to walk out of the theater because there were so many people rushing out. Because then what you had inside the theater was people who were dying or already dead, clogging up aisles. Because the way the shooter came in, and when we did a reconstruction of this, is that anyone who was sitting here was safe. He was aiming up. All of his shots were going higher. So if you were down here and you're trying to get out the back, like where you were coming in, it was really clogging things up. So he was trying to take people out as they were exiting the sides, and people were trying to come down. So it was really like they call it a fatal funnel when we're entering a building or entering a scene. It was kind of the reverse thing, where it was a fatal funnel trying to get out of something. So what you're saying is absolutely correct. Thanks for the plug.
Thank you. Hey, give him a hand. So also, keep this in mind. Like I said, for a tactical situation when you're triaging, you're essentially 2 areas you're concerned about: warm zone and hot zone. Hot zone means there's people imminently dying, things are exploding, you're getting shot at. Warm zone is you have an area of moderate safety. So a good way to put that would be there's a shooting going on at the far end of this building over there. That's bad. So if you're over there, then that would be the hot zone. However, this room, there's currently fine, but you're still close to bullets because bullets travel. So this would be the warm zone. So this would be where you can actually do a little bit more work. The hot zone, we say, sure, if you can stop the bleeding, apply a tourniquet and extract, that's cool. But I can honestly tell you, I mean, like, it probably takes a lot of cold, like, there's probably much better operators that can maintain their composure. But the couple times I've actually been shot at and having to do first aid, it literally just turned into, oh yeah, we're dragging this asshole, and like getting him out. And then I would get him somewhere and then start doing it. Now what I did do is I did reach down, check an airway, open it up, because, you know, you gotta keep him breathing. But we're going to talk very extensively about red gold and how important it is to control bleeding.
And everybody's an asshole when you're getting shot at.
Yes.
You're in a fight, everybody's an asshole. You can love them, but man, they're an asshole, especially if you got to drag them out and not defend yourself while you're doing it.
Yes. And this is a picture of the Boston bombing. You can actually see little blood spackles on the ground and stuff like that. And we're going to get into tourniquet use later on. But people were improving tourniquets and using belts and stuff like that, which kudos to you if you can do it. It's good. But we're also going to show you how to, if you're like a cool prepper and you've got a little first aid kit, how you can make a nice little tourniquet using clink and stuff like that. So it'll be good. But the tourniquet belts did work, or at the very least they worked enough to actually last until they could get there, would be the good way to put it. So this is where it gets fun. Extractions. So again, like you've heard me say, you can't work in the hot zone. Not really. So you got to get them up and you got to move, right? Moving someone can be difficult. All right, so it's not cool whenever they're like a floppy noodle. They don't move around. You can practice picking up your buddy all the time, but they keep tension on themselves, so you can actually manipulate them. When they're unconscious, unresponsive, they're limp, they're loose, they don't move around, or they don't respond correctly. So you have to practice carries. So the two carries I'd like to show you
Before he gets to
are
that,
here.
just one last thing on the tactical end. Exiting the room you just cleared. If you have multiple teams or one big stack working the building, when you exit the room, you don't just walk out. When you exit the room with somebody who's just been shot, you definitely don't just walk out. So if this is the plane of the building or the door line, coming out, hey, don't shoot me, assholes, because again, people are shooting.
Blue,
Everybody's
blue.
an asshole. Coming out, and you don't leave until somebody responds, because if you do, you might get shot. So so now you got to keep in mind, okay, my partner or the guy in the stack that I've been working with, my team member or the asshole just got shot, and I had to work on him, and I'm stressed out, and I pick him up in this carry that you're going to learn, and don't forget to go out the door the way you're supposed to, because if you don't, you might get both of you killed and give nightmares to the rest of your team members for the rest of their lives because you didn't give the countersign to get out.
Yep. As the teams we usually work at is blue, blue, blue. So that lets them know blue is the universal color for law enforcement. So that's how we identify ourselves. What I wanted to show you here is the cradle carry. I genuinely enjoy this carry. It does take up a little bit of space. You can see it being demonstrated here, but it really plays to people's strengths and mobility. Because whenever you do it this way, you can actually go up and down steps very easily. You can negotiate obstacles very easily, and you can move very fast. This is pretty much a standard EMS carry. I think Tim was telling me that's basically what they did up in Maryland the entire time, the old under the arms and under the legs.
That's the word I got. Baltimore City's favorite way for getting people out of a small row home.
So this is we're gonna have a little game with this here. So we're also gonna show you that. But what I want to point out here is you see the two arms on the rescuers. They aren't overlapping, and that's okay, but that really only works if the person you're moving is small. So what happens whenever you have someone big or someone who's in full kit or got a lot of armor on? So what I do is to stick your hand back there, and then my buddy would reach back and grab my wrist, and that gives him a handhold that he can hold on to. So then we work with each other. So, oh good, more videos. Y'all like this one.